Hi, my name is Mike Dillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for men who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of their lives. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. You know, it'd be extremely hard to think of a business more difficult to build than the one Luke Sherwin founded, and yet Casper Mattresses produced over $20 million in revenue in their first 12 months. So how do you take one of the most boring product categories in the world and make your marketing go viral? How do you make enough profit to grow a business from a $900 sale that your customer only makes once every 10 years? And how do you turn the agonizing process of buying a bed and turn it into an extraordinary experience that people film and post on YouTube? And finally, how in the world did they manage to acquire the Casper.com domain name? Well, today you're going to learn the answers to all of these questions and much more in this fascinating interview with Luke. Now, the audio quality is a little rough, but don't let that stop you. This is a masterclass on how to differentiate your products from the competition and how to build an extraordinary brand that people rave about. So please help me welcome Luke Sherwin of Casper.com. Welcome back, everybody. Mike Dillard here, and today we are going to have a hell of a business success story for you guys to learn from with a young entrepreneur who's just building an unbelievable track record for himself along with his business partners. But I'm pleased to introduce you to one of the co-founders of Casper Mattresses, Luke Sherwin, who's coming to us from New York City. So, Luke, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So I'm super excited to get this opportunity to speak to you today about this business and the unbelievable success story that Casper has become. You know, as I was doing my homework and learning more about you and the company, I was absolutely dumbfounded to see that you guys hit $100 million in revenue in your first 12 months in business, which is one heck of an achievement. But before we dive into that and how you guys pulled that off, I have to ask you, how did you get involved in mattresses? You know, you're a young guy, young entrepreneur, and this just seems like such a random, commoditized industry. What really created that spark for you and your business partners to go after this?
It definitely wasn't something that in sort of my sophomore year of college I anticipated myself doing. So it wasn't a lifelong goal to get into mattresses. Sort of short synopsis of how Casper started was I was working in a co-working space in New York City with two of my college friends who I'd founded another business with, and the three of us were sitting opposite Philip, who's my fourth co-founder, 4 out of 5. I can speak to the large number of co-founders later. And he was working on a business to help small businesses with SEO visibility, and we were working on another e-commerce business. And neither of our businesses, let's just say, were taking off or rocket ships. And I think at that time there was a sort of a little bit of an inner soul search for us about finding, you know, real, legitimate customer pain points that we could really tackle. And this came at a time where we'd seen what Warby Parker had done for glasses with a sort of demonstrable value proposition of a great product for less money and a great experience with it. And Philip, who had actually sold some mattresses online before as part of a sort of a larger aggregated e-commerce business that he held while he was in college, said that, you know, mattresses are the ripest fruit that you could ever consider if your filter was a bad consumer experience. So as we continued to talk about the idea, we also noticed a seemingly like a little bit of a consumer trend, and that was people starting to track their sleep and sort of a seeming tailwind on sleep awareness and sort of investment in this other facet of your life. And we got talking about, you know, is it actually possible to build a really simple model to tackle what is a confusing experience, and also build somewhere down the line, try and build a direct-to-consumer relationship and be able to make kind of be the sleep partner of record for people. And that was kind of the beginnings of the idea. We then went and made a deck, as one does, got rejected from the vast majority of VCs that we first talked to, as one typically does. And only in about September, October of 2013, having been, pitching our company out a lot of times, that we get our first commitment to Casper and first commitment in our seed round. And from there, it really was, that was I would say if I had to carve out where the very, very beginning closed, it was right at that moment.
What was the biggest reason most of those VCs turned to you guys down? Was there a common thing reason among them?
Sure. I think there were two. The first one is the concept of lifetime value, and the idea that a mattress, something that's purchased, every 7 to 10 years, goes against the traditional model for direct consumer brands, where you can afford to spend more in acquiring your customers than retailers, because you would be able to essentially earn subsequent value from the customer in other transactions down the line based on the trust and their product experience they earned earlier. So when we launched, we only had a prototype for a mattress. We talked about the other products, but they were definitely kind of in the conditional tense. And that was our biggest pushback, probably that single thing. The second thing was actually 5 co-founders, believe it or not. Just the idea that this was a large founding team with a lot of people heavily invested in the company. And we had a lot of questions to do with that. I think one of the smarter things we made earlier was, in the 5 of us, we nominated, someone to be a CEO. It's not a kind of co-CEO setup. There's a buck stop mechanism in my co-founder, Philip. So that, I think, probably was the lesser of the two difficulties we experienced with VC.
Yeah, that was actually going to be a question of mine for you as well. When you look at what you guys are selling in your business model, as you said, somebody's only going to buy a mattress on average around every 7 years. You guys have these priced, in a hugely valuable way compared to your competitors. I've got a Tempur-Pedic that I've had for a couple of years now that cost 4 to 5x what you guys would sell one of your King mattresses for. And I'm just like, well, where's the repeat business, the consumable side of the business model? So I could see how that would be an issue for y'all. And now that you've obviously had a grand slam for your first couple of years, is that still a concern for you, or do you have the profit margins built into the business that will really allow you to, pick up their business, 7 years later on a second run?
I think we found a couple of things that were positive surprises, and then there's been some things that we, I would say optimistically predicted that have come true. So the first thing is, today Casper sells a mattress, sheets, and a pillow, as well as sort of ancillary to that, a foundation to put your mattress on, and a dog mattress or dog bed, which is something that is actually the most recent thing we launched. And the things that the main thing that has been validated by that in the about a little over a year since we launched our sheets and pillows has been that in selling a customer on Casper on a mattress somewhere in that year of 2014, a very large number, I won't say the specific number, but a very large number have subsequently purchased our sheets and our pillow, which really validated the original theory, which is if you can earn a customer's trust by building a great product and a great experience and kind of transcending what they expect for a mattress company at that time, you really will have an opportunity to prove that there's a relationship and that you can sell higher frequency products which have life cycles that are shorter than a mattress, your typical mattress, and sell those into the same relationship without having to dip into your acquisition budget again. Just a simple notification that Casper now makes a pillow, yielded records for us that were way beyond our expectations. So that's one element that I think has been validated very securely for us. More exciting than that, in many ways, is the idea that the pillow and the sheets, and now the dog bed, can be the first purchase for a customer, the first way to purchase from Casper, and can do so at I call it a lower friction consideration price point of a product that we sell a $75 pillow, which a lot of people would argue is actually more expensive than our mattress relative to the category. But for people who have heard of Casper and have heard the great things from their friends who have a mattress, but maybe they only bought a mattress 3 years ago or whatever, the pillow represents a great way to test Casper out and take us up on our 100-night trial. And since we've launched pillows and sheets, the potentially more exciting thing is that people have been buying mattresses who came in through products that were not a mattress. And of course, if you're able to acquire a customer through a cheaper product and a potentially, less considered purchase, and then have them buy an extremely considered, extremely competitive, extremely margin rich, or comparatively margin rich. We definitely operate at far less margins than a typical industry player does. Then that's a really exciting economic model. So those are two of them. I think that the last thing that's kind of been validated has been that referral, the act of people buying the mattress and just telling their friends, either, formally through our referral program or informally through posting their dog lying on their dog mattress, or their unboxing of the mattress, or their, a little pillow fort that they made, or whatever. That has been a huge driver for our business. And I think singularly is probably one of the greatest measurements of our brand health. So for us, that number far exceeded our original investor projections and continues to be a really exciting aspect of our business.
I would love it if you would walk us through the launch of the business, your first week, your first 30 days in business, because to hit $100 million in revenue in 12 months, I guess the question is, how did you guys pull that off? Where was the traffic coming from? Was it mostly PR? Was it media buys? It's a heck of an achievement. So anything you'd be willing to share on that would be awesome.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, personally, Mike, I'd say that the reality for us is that it blew past our own projections many, many fold. Not kind of, this is a great problem to have fold, but, you guys just screwed up your projections is sort of the overall feeling for us. I mean, for a whole year, we were having issues delivering the customer experience that we wanted simply because we couldn't compete with, get close to meeting our demand. Basically, we launched on April 22nd of 2014, and we were not the first online mattress company. There have been many for north of 10 years selling beds and boxes, even ones that had positioned themselves in terms of foam and what it offers as an alternative to the industry. What I think was unique about Casper is we really embraced the tension of selling one mattress and the sort of let's call it the controversy, the innate controversy of that as a statement. It was so radically simple that it had a kind of how can they do this type sentiment that it created. And the result was that our earned media when we started was I would say that same energy, that same tension was created a lot of buzz and a lot of press when we first launched, which was a huge boost. Obviously, on our first day, we actually did $1 million in our first month and about $100,000 in our first day. And from there, it was kind of the Kickstarter or the igniter to what for probably a period of 6 months in our first year of doing business was really a referral driven, customer driven growth pattern where, people got excited because there was a company that they'd heard about that the press was excited about. They loved the product. They would post about it. They would, take pictures of our boxes more than the mattress even. It was like the act of getting a Casper was perhaps on social more photogenic or more mediagenic than, actually lying on the mattress. I mean, this really was just an amazing force for us. And I think it was very grassroots, and we didn't really start spending into media meaningfully. I mean, beyond sort of owning your branded search until a few months into the business. I think that one thing that was, of highest concern to us, and this perhaps comes as a cliche, and a lot of people will say the same thing, but taking the customer service side to sort of an extreme level, like a level where it breaks through the noise of good customer service. I think we're all pretty entitled. In 2016, we all feel pretty entitled to great customer service online. So the bar to do something that almost seems outrageous in terms of its generosity or its experience is pretty high. But we did things like shipping people books to say thank you. Obviously, we're blessed with a high-priced product and a little bit more room to be able to do things like that. When we were delayed on shipping, we would send Amazon airbeds. We actually got banned from Amazon because we had to do that so much, and they thought we were reselling them. We did a lot of things that were very clearly above and beyond, and that I think elicited that same sort of referral and willingness to be able to talk about the experience that a lot of brands, when they're early on, they're thinking of where they're going to put their resources and where they're going to put their money. they might just be happy with 95th percentile customer service. And I think going to a 99th percentile actually pays off because it cracks through that ceiling, and the returns to being there are much, much higher.
Is there a company that inspired that level of service for y'all that you took ideas from and you're like, that's our target, or it's either meet or exceed?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all had different ones. Everyone had examples of great customer experience. Some of us through, and my personal one was Rent the Runway with my girlfriend. She told me some crazy story about them, and when a dress didn't arrive and how they rushed it to her. That was a great example. But I think the funny thing about customer experience is it's sort of, some of them enter folklore, right? Like a lot of people have heard of this example of Zappos customer experience where you could have them order you a pizza while you're talking about shoes, right? And, whether that's a true statement or not, it kind of represents the gold standard for, how extreme a company is willing to go to please their customers. And I think that sort of overall trope of just outrageous above and beyond was kind of a North Star for us. So sure, there were specific examples that we related it to, but I think it's like many, you've heard of folkloric customer experiences and you want to replicate them or go beyond them yourself.
Do you have an official tagline or value, if you will, stated about service within the company? Something along the lines of, the answer is always yes. But is there an official statement that sums up your philosophy?
No, there's not. I think that one of our values is the word pioneering, and we've always felt that we need to give the resources to our CX team and to the individuals on the phone every day to have some latitude to delight customers and go a little bit above and beyond. And we leave it open sometimes not sometimes, all the time, for creativity at that level. To do something that's really context aware about the customer. It's not like, for apologizing when a bed is late, we have a specific playbook that just, gets reeled off to a customer and that's trained. It's more, a really human-centered approach where, you allow a diversity of how it's catered to. And sure, as we've grown and we're now over 200 people, there have been some things where processes had to get a little bit more rigid, but I think maintaining that flexibility is, if I had to choose one word, it's kind of probably flexibility at the level of the interaction. That would be something that we've maintained.
Going back to earlier in your story when you guys were out making your rounds, raising capital, what advice would you have for entrepreneurs who are listening to this if they're about to begin that process?
I think that things change in very short periods of time on how to raise money. So for us, the bar was a lot lower in demonstrating kind of how baked a e-commerce or consumer business needs to look to VCs. We were still able to leave a lot of guesswork for the investors to kind of see what we could be. And I think now the bar on a business where a brand and the design of the business is, and literally the visual design of the site and the product are core to it succeeding. I think now the benchmark is getting your ducks a little bit more in a row before going out to pitch. So that means making that investment on a design partner or a branding partner a little bit earlier and having it a little bit more baked in terms of thinking about the investor, not just as an investor, but also as someone who's going to judge it as a consumer. I think for Casper, we often in our networks of people who are going to raise money and seek our advice on what we did, obviously, because we had such a fortunate story. And what's funny is that the decks that we're seeing and the presentations that we're seeing are already at a level that far exceeded the quality of ours. So my piece of advice would be to, just really make that investment early on, even prior to your seed, if you can, on polishing the visuals of what you're going to present. I'm talking narrowly in the consumer space.
Yeah, that's great advice. Y'all have gone through a couple of different phases now, obviously in a very short period of time. Are there any really, really big challenges that stick out in your memory? And they're going to be different, right, from the seed phase to the launch phase to where you guys are at now. But what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in each of those?
I'll say one that I think has been macro probably across certainly the second two has been, I think one of the beauties of the internet, but also the difficulties of it is that it's a place that you can create noise very quickly. And for Casper, we were the beneficiaries of a wave of buzz when we launched, and it was a wave that we surfed and sometimes would had to obviously contribute to continuously to kind of be the number one in our space. What has happened over time is that a lot of others have recognized, how big a consumer shift this is, and have joined the wave as direct-to-consumer mattress companies, et cetera. And for us, that there's some empirical realities to that about, now you have a lot of choice. There's a lot of, Casper is just one of many kind of single mattress 100-night trial product offerings. But breaking through that very same noise that you generated is absolutely a challenge. And, I can say that our strategy on that is, unfortunately, there's no shortcut. It's a long run commitment to making a better product and a better experience. So when people think of Casper, it feels funny 2.5 years on, but they think of us as the elephant and kind of the rest of the competitive set is the David. Sorry, us as the Goliath and the rest is the David. But what we've done with our investment and what we raised capital to do was to build a San Francisco research facility to make our mattress, effectively impossible to compete with, and to bring that product to a level that starts to speak for itself in its own world above this competitive noise. So if we think of challenges or the specific challenge on that, I think we've found that it's messaging the fact that there is a difference fundamentally at the innovation and product level in a world where it's pretty easy to, liberally emulate someone's JavaScript and CSS and photography and copy and come up with something similar to a Casper. But the side that, a little bit, I think this is Google's philosophy, but the side that's hard to emulate ultimately is sometimes hard to message. And that's the really hardcore multi-year projects that eventually end up in the product that's in front of your customer. And that for us as a macro challenge, I think is today's challenge and will be tomorrow's challenge, or a major challenge. It's not the only one. I think probably the one that's even bigger than that is just changing the way people think about buying a mattress from offline to online. But, I think if I had to choose one, that would be the biggest one.
So dedication to product quality, basically.
Yeah, dedication to product quality, and then actually being able to demonstrate that in an environment where someone's not actually able to, from a tactile standpoint, recognize that, right? Like, it's if you're competing with your competitive set, and this applies to all businesses, not just to consumer businesses, but if you're competing on them in terms of pixels that are on a screen, and the thing that you're selling is something that's experienced not on a screen, then I think the type of your dedication to demonstrating that side of your business is really important, and it's hard. That message is something that we wish was more dominant in the discourse of the current market that we've created, and it's not as dominant as we wish it was. So we're really working on that.
I've got to ask, where did the name come from, and was there a challenge? Because I'm assuming there was, to acquiring Casper.com, from a domain perspective.
So there was definitely a challenge. The name came from, I had a tall roommate, a Dutch gentleman, who was literally too long for his mattress. He was on a twin, which is 75 inches long. And my co-founder, Gabe, while we were doing the classic sort of, 6-week-long debate of what we should name our company, jokingly in a meeting with our agency suggested that we call it Casper. Funnily enough, his name was actually spelled Kasper, but we quickly changed that to something more recognizable and sort of the intuitive way that Americans spell the word. We actually started as CasperSleep.com because Casper.com did have a meaningful price on it. And then I won't talk to the specific price, but shortly after we had kind of our first few months of success, we acquired Casper.com from a private individual who's we talked to for a while.
Cool. And now relaxing on an island somewhere. But,
yeah. A small one, but maybe.
Okay. So when you launched, you said it was CasperSleep.com?
Yeah, Casper Sleep.
Okay, so that's what you used when you launched, and then so you moved forward with that no matter what, with the hopes that one day you'd be able to just acquire Casper.com, which you obviously eventually did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think that that's actually, another piece of tactical opinion, which I give a lot to sort of entrepreneurs running a consumer business. I still think there's equity in the .com, particularly if you're swiping cards on your site. And while it may be easier to get a cleaner URL through some other, I always forget the top level domain. I think that's the name of it. I don't think it's typically worth the ROI versus some sort of modifier to your existing name. And I would say that gets disproportionately more important the higher the price of your product. So there's still equity in .com. We didn't do kind of Casper.io or something, despite those being opportunities.
I couldn't agree with you more. I absolutely feel the same way. And the only time I've broken that rule was a very similar story. The .com was taken, so I launched with the .net. We were in business for about a year, doing very well, and then we were finally able to acquire the .com for a nice chunk of change as well. But I won't start a site or a business without the .com. To me, you're asking for trouble and just some frustration around that, as you're moving forward. So yeah, in complete agreement with you there. Now, from your perspective personally, how has this business forced you to grow as a person and an entrepreneur?
Sure. I mean, there's so many and such a long answer to that. When I co-founded Casper, I was, I guess 24, almost 25. And not someone with much domain experience. We had a year and a half of the pain of founding a company under our belt, but not success, and had never really tasted kind of the feedback loops of you do this and something succeeds. So we were still, I'd say, a pretty open book. I think that the aspect of Casper that if we made one smart choice that has forced us to grow, but also forced our company to grow, it was recognizing our own naivety early on and hiring in our first set of earliest employees, people who brought much more to the table than even our founding team did. So how I've grown as a person is sort of recognize the difference between domain expertise and experience and kind of management and the value of just context and management. So I think what any of our co-founders bring to the table when there's not necessarily an extreme domain expertise is just sort of a cross-functional context of knowing a lot of things. Let's say you can know 10 different facets of the business. I might know all 10 of them at a 5 or a 4, and that's valuable and meaningful of the 9s or 10s in very specific categories. So from a growth standpoint, I think we've all grown in a very broad sense. And I think personally sort of recognizing the difference between, thinking that one knows better in a specific instance versus thinking that one adds context and can just use that to question and potentially get to better outcomes. That's been a valuable learning for me. I could just keep going on if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll ask you this. What was your biggest strength walking into this? Right now you have the title of head of creative for Casper. So what does that entail? Your duties on a daily basis and contribution to the business. And from a creative perspective, I'm just guessing here because when I talk to most creatives, the opposite of their talent is typically in financials and numbers and accounting and things like that. So what is the flip side to your talent pool that you've really had to, up your game with?
Sure. No, that's a great question. I think I'll start by saying that though my title is creative, I didn't come with any particular creative experience. I think what I brought to the table was just a commitment or belief that was extremely important. And then I managed an agency and slowly built I think we're now like a 15 or 16 person creative team within Casper, based more on the strength that I believe that was extremely valuable, and then our brand, ultimately our brand would be kind of the one of the ultimate deciders of our success. And again, it wasn't necessarily experience or ability that was brought to it. It was in the mix of everything that a startup has to go through, always having the back of the brand and always arguing to benefit it or never risk it. So that was a strength. I would say the weak part of that I have out of those 10, I said that when I kind of truthfully, when I said it was a 4 out of 10 on 10 different things, there's not many things that I go north of a 5 on, I would say. But probably the weak side of it is actually the financial sort of implications of a creative. And, it's one thing to look at an ad and be able to measure it sort of in the micro sense of, okay, here's your creative, here's how much money we put behind it, here's how many people transacted on site. It's another thing to kind of look at a entire marketing P&L, both in terms of your creative and the cost to make your creative, the media and the media that you cost to buy your media, and then also all the different team inputs, and then also balance the short and long term in terms of what percentage of your budget is going to just towards acquiring customers today, what percentage of your budget is going towards awareness, where it may not show up as ROI positive in the short run, but it's kind of a longer term investment. And I think that's something where for about 2 years we didn't have a CMO, and myself and my co-founder Philip kind of played the message side of CMO, and he played more the financial side of CMO. And today, we brought on a great chief marketing officer who really is my partner in crime, and kind of looking at the almost our whole marketing portfolio in a more celestial sense, much higher up. So definitely learning the financial side is an ongoing commitment for me, and one that I can't claim to feel totally confident on at any given point.
No, absolutely. And are you, I don't know if you're married, in a relationship, anything like that?
In a relationship, a long relationship. I get called the son-in-law by her parents, but still not married.
So, well, I was going to ask you, what is a priority for you outside of work? What do you enjoy doing? What are you passionate about? And how do you balance work with your personal life?
Yeah, it's a funny, timely question actually for me right now, because my girlfriend started a restaurant, which means that her hours of work are precisely kind of the opposite of mine at Casper. Mm-hmm. So for years it was Casper, and then my relationship, and there was a simplicity to it. And now it's kind of I have these 6 hours every evening where I can either just keep my work hat on or figure out something else to do. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what this is a month-long phenomenon for me, and I'm not 100% sure what those 6 hours are going to be spent doing, 6 months from now, and whether it's something as banal as, just getting into great physical shape or something more complex like learning Mandarin. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Well, I think the whole Oculus starts shipping in a few months, so maybe that'll occupy some of your time.
Yeah, I saw that, and also PS4. The PS4. I actually am pretty certain that I'm going to do the whole VR thing. And I think it's a month until the PS VR comes out, and I have to see Oculus too.
Have you had a chance to experience that yet?
I have. I did experience it actually in a mall in China, in Shanghai, about 3 weeks ago for the first time, and it was as mind blowing as everybody said it was. I also have this app. I think it's a Korean app called Abyssarium, and it's basically like owning your own aquarium deep at the bottom of the ocean. So it's a lot bigger, and it allows you to quickly switch to Google Cardboard, and you can put your phone in your Google Cardboard and kind of experience everything from a blue whale to they call it guppies or goby fish. And it's really immersive and kind of sometimes it's kind of calming. It's a game without purpose. It's just a game to feel your aquarium, and I really appreciate that. I look forward to doing more things like that somewhere down the line.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a chance to try Oculus for the first time a couple of weeks ago at a friend's house, and unbelievable. Like, blew my mind. And I finally got the impact that this is going to have on the world and how the world is going to change in a dramatic way in the coming years. Yeah, so super fun, super exciting stuff, but neither here nor there. When you look at your life, 5 years from now down the road, where do you envision yourself? What are your goals? What's on your bucket list? How do you want to grow as an entrepreneur? Maybe, just a man in general?
Often, I look, trying to reflect on Casper as a very surreal experience. And one of the more fun exercises is, what would life look like without Casper over the last 4 years? What would I have done that I can't do today? Or where would I find the same satisfaction? And I think one of the things that, is most exciting about, and hasn't died down and hasn't reduced at all on a day-to-day basis about being an entrepreneur and working at Casper, is just the sheer amount of new stimuli. And, I think that there's the metaphor that could be like eating the same dish every day versus kind of basically continuously traveling, and trying like every locality of every country, of every cuisine, it never feeling like you've kind of seen it all. So I think the thing that will come after Casper for me, no matter what, whether it's with another company or whether it's with Casper because I'm with Casper as a lifer, or whether it's, not even just startup, is just consuming lots of information and always kind of learning at that breakneck pace. I think that it's really the fuel that makes you want to wake up every morning, even if you're in a very difficult period for the business. It's universally motivating. So I think in any scenario where I part ways with Casper or something at some point in the future, that would be the part that would need to be recreated. But I have no plans. I see myself at Casper in my 40s. So.
And as you're going through this, I'm trying to picture what your day looks like. Walk us through that, if you wouldn't mind, from your habits in the morning to, do you go into the office or do you work remotely, and what does your day look like?
I'm very much in the office every day. I think what is transitioned in my days, I used to be a lot more involved in the actual sort of creation of the creative, whether that be managing an agency or going to our agency or doing it with the internal creative team. And I think like every founder, it's a worthwhile exercise to at least not actually do it, but try to hire yourself out of your organization, in a sense that it then allows you the ability to kind of step back and look at what kind of some of the big picture opportunities are. And I would say that I've, in my next in line vice president of creative, I found an incredible partner who really does bring experience and creativity to the table that I could never do. And it frees me up to actually debate, almost like kind of go back to the earliest days and debate much more the course of the company with my co-founders and what's next in terms of some big initiatives. And then I can kind of rely on the creative function to do a lot more of the execution. So my average day, it definitely involves looking at creative that's finished and giving my opinion on it, sometimes kickstarting some new projects on that side. But a lot of it is just talking about, larger initiatives that we want to start and figuring out what the right group of people to be behind that initiative is, and thinking about it from an organizational standpoint. We also launched in Europe recently, and that's made made my life a little bit more complicated, in that I'm in Berlin probably every 1 week a month, Berlin and London 1 week a month. I'm sort of trying to recreate what we have here, or some of what we have here. Some of it obviously matrixes into New York out there.
Awesome. And from a health and a diet perspective, do you subscribe to any particular category in that regard?
It's funny. I just did I just subscribed to a gym membership as part of my post-girlfriend starting a restaurant early life crisis, and I did some sort of like fitness analysis, and I subscribe to realizing that I need to get fit. Would be it. I run to clear my head today, but it's kind of it's not enough to really feel in the best shape that one could be in, and I'd love to have a commitment to doing more of that more times a week. And I can say this, that my co-founders have done this, and I can see the benefits. So I'm looking to recreate that experience for myself.
Yeah, it's interesting, when you're in a high stress environment such as entrepreneurship, how critical it is that your body is really the first priority, so that you have the energy to sustain yourself. to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And I've had to learn that the hard way as I've started to reach my late 30s, that it requires more and more effort and maintenance to, perform as a business athlete, if you will. So I've really found that to be the case as well. Well, Luke, we've got just a couple of minutes left. If you could, we've got a huge audience that are always into the cutting edge categories of products out there, which you guys are when it comes to mattresses. Give them, if you wouldn't mind, the 60-second sales pitch essentially on why they should do business with you guys and ideally become a lifelong fan and customer.
Sure. No, thank you for that opportunity. So I'm gonna center this on the mattress, but and we'll can talk about the pillows and sheets. But I think what runs deep at Casper is a commitment to not making something unless it actively benefits sleep. So for us, since the beginning, my co-founder Jeff, who spent 10 years at IDEO, actually while he was there, he designed and led R&D for some of the big mattress manufacturers, really believed that sleep is not just about kind of pressure relief in a mattress, or a mattress is not about pressure relief in a mattress. It's also about the microclimate and the temperature environment in that in that mattress. And so what Casper brought to the table was something that could be found in a $2,500 mattress in terms of memory foam and the sort of slow response, really kind of supportive nature of memory foam, but by hybridizing that with essentially open cell foam layer on top of it, we were able to create all the benefits of memory foam, but without feeling stuck or feeling hot. And that now runs deep across both our pillow and our sheets. Our pillow uses these amazing, I think we originally sourced them from South Korea, from the medical fibers from South Korea, but it has something like 600 million of these super thin, 20th the thickness of the human hair fibers that essentially have pent up energy in them when you lean on them, because they're so fine and different lengths. And it means that it moves with you as you sleep in the night, and you're not kind of having to use your arm or a second pillow to re-support you and thus get out of a sleep cycle or reduce the quality of sleep in doing so. And then lastly, the sheets, we use a super long staple cotton from California, and we weave it in such a way that, again, it's really breathable and it lets your body do its thing. So that, not only is it going to be durable and last many, many years, but you're not getting hot. And I think that's one of the biggest misperceptions in the American linen market is that, what thread count literally means. It means higher density of threads. It's not a measurement of strength, it's a measurement of density. And that is inversely correlated with breathability, which is what your body needs to do when it sleeps. So in Casper, we debunked that, and we've gone for quality of threads rather than the number of threads, and really purposely engineered there to be natural airflow through. And I think anyone who's tried our sheets, that's the first thing that they say is that, they can be using them and they don't get that icky feeling that you might have from the Ponzi scheme, that is counting threads on sheets and selling thousands of thread count sheets that are only there to kind of feel somewhere between a plastic bag and a sauna. That was my long-winded pitch of my three favorite products.
Well, what I can't get over is the value proposition that you guys offer. I've been on the website today, and a king mattress is less than $1,000, $950 with free shipping. Just astounds me, because the one I'm sleeping on, same type of technology, again, 4, 5, 6 times that, plus a trip to the store, and all of that, business in between. So I don't know how you guys do it, but kudos to you. Thank you for the value that you're bringing to the market and the innovation and the up in the game when it comes to customer service and satisfaction, and really pushing the boundary in all of those categories. It's just been an amazing feat that you guys have pulled off. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I have to ask too, the name of your girlfriend's restaurant, and where is it, so those who are in New York can go give it a try?
It's the restaurant's name is King, King, like the Regent, and it's on 18 King Street. She's committed to it's actually a daily changing menu, which for anyone in the food industry knows how hard that is to pull off. But kind of responding to the daily changes in the market and the quality of produce, and committing to making that food delicious every day. So check it out. I think the website is, funnily enough, not .com, but it's kingrestaurant.nyc.
Awesome. Well, Luke, thank you so much for your time today and the valuable words of wisdom and for sharing your story here with our audience. Really do appreciate it. And guys, make sure you go check out Casper.com. Look up Luke Sherwin online as well. You can connect with him on social. And Luke, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Absolutely.